Hey everybody! So today we're going to talk a little bit about Pluto transits and Pluto and solar arcs. The reason we're going to talk about this, somebody left a comment about their own solar arc Pluto about to conjunct their ascendant. So it got me thinking, Pluto transits are a big deal anyway. The US is going through its Pluto return. So it seems like we could talk about Pluto transits in the natal chart, or, Pluto, solar arc Pluto hitting something in the natal chart. So first let's talk a little bit about what Pluto is. Here's the card for it. So Pluto is transformative. Pluto is death and rebirth. Pluto destroys. It does. Pluto destroys things. But it does rebuild. It does. Rebuilds from the rubble and the ashes. But it does rebuild. It just will look different than what was there before. It also deals with power and control. Obsessions and compulsions are also Pluto territory. So you're looking at, when you've got transit Pluto or solar arc Pluto doing something in the chart, whatever it's touching in the chart, and I will be focusing on conjunctions here, but whatever it's touching in the chart is going to be transformed, is going to be probably destroyed and rebuilt. Now the difference between transits and solar arcs, transits are what's going on in the sky currently, right? Like, I don't know the exact degree of where transit Pluto is right now, but it's like at 25 or 26 something right now. Capricorn. And that's where it'll be. Transit Pluto will be in everybody's chart. Wherever transit Pluto is at the time will be where transit Pluto will be over somebody's chart for everybody. It'll impact people's charts differently, but that is where transit Pluto is, wherever it is at the time. Solar arc Pluto, on the other hand, is more personal, because it'll move. Solar arcs, Pluto will move like a degree every year. So if let's say your natal Pluto was at 0 degree Scorpio. Let's say I know this won't really make sense because Pluto, if you're 40 years old, Pluto won't be just whatever. Yeah. So let's say you got Pluto at 0 degree Scorpio, you're 40 years old, that would move Pluto 40 degrees from 0 degree Scorpio. So that would put Pluto at 10 degrees Sagittarius. Would essentially be where your solar arc Pluto was. You move it a degree a year. So the solar arc thing, I want to be careful about how I say this because transits are very personal too, but solar arcs are real personal because they are calculated from your chart. So where your solar arc Pluto is, like, it might not be where somebody else's solar arc Pluto is. Whereas transits, everybody's transit Pluto over everybody's chart will be where Pluto is in the sky for everybody. So there is what does feel like a more personal feeling to solar arcs, just a little bit. Transits are very personal too, but solar arcs feel just slightly more personal. Because there's nothing collective about it. It is a personal thing. So, let's say this person that left the comment, they had, it was solar arc Pluto conjunct their ascendant. Now, I currently have this going on myself. To the person that left the comment, I'm sorry. I laugh. I'm with you. I feel it. I'm with you. In spirit, I'm with you. But my only frame of reference for trying to make this personal is I had transit Pluto assaulting the shit out of my ascendant when I was 13, 14 years old, and it was incredibly hard. Incredibly hard. incredibly hard period of time. And I'm hopeful that the solar arc thing might not be, solar arc Pluto conjunct the ascendant might not be quite as hard because a lot was destroyed at that time, and a lot was rebuilt, and it was kind of rebuilt in strange ways. So I'm hoping that solar arc, well, certainly when you've got solar arc Pluto conjunct the ascendant, transit Pluto conjunct the ascendant, there is going to be you are going to change. You are going to change. The way you approach the world will change. The way that your knee-jerk reactions will change. All of this will change. And of course, I talk about the transit Pluto conjunct my ascendant that I had going on when I was 13, 14 years old, and even into 14, 15, 16, it was, fucking around with that shit. It also depends on everything else going on in the chart. There were some other difficult things going on too. So, that may not play out that same way for you, but regardless of how easy or difficult it is, there is a transformation that happens. You are not the same after you have Pluto cross the ascendant by transit, and I would imagine by solar arc. You are not the same. You're not. You're not. Things are fundamentally different in the way that you are. In the way that you are. That's not a bad thing, but it is usually a challenging thing. Let's see, okay, we'll do them with the other angles. Because I know some other people that are having transit Pluto doing shit to other angles. Transit Pluto, let's say transit Pluto or solar arc Pluto is conjunct the IC. You're probably looking at somebody who's, the core of who they are is being transformed. That seems very, very possible. This might not be so much how they approach the world, how the world sees them kind of thing, and how they approach the world. It's going to be more it's going to be much more personal with the IC involved. Much, much more personal. It's just going to be a more personal experience. Home might be transformed. Family might be transformed. And this could be families breaking apart. This could even be, I could even see a birth of a child. Something, just transformation. Things aren't the same. They're not the same after that. And, things just aren't the same in those areas of life, and they'll be rebuilt. Let's see, transit Pluto or solar arc Pluto conjunct the descendant. You might be looking at the shadow. And when I say shadow here with the descendant, I mean a literal shadow in the sky. Something that you is there, but you kind of ignore it or don't really, if you see a shadow on the ground, right? It's there, but you're not really paying attention to it. You don't really give a shit. That's kind of the shadow that I mean here. Though with Pluto crossing it, there could definitely be some actual psychological shadow shit going on for sure. But that kind of part of your life might be transformed. Things coming out to play that maybe you'd rather not deal with or you'd rather just ignore, right? That part of the shadow. Transit Pluto or solar arc Pluto might make it to where you can't do that anymore. That's not always a bad thing though, but transformation in those areas of life. Plus, also because the 7th house deals a lot with one-on-one relationships, you might also be looking at those transforming too. For sure. Or even what you attract into your life, that could also be transforming too. I wouldn't rule either of those out either. And then solar arc Pluto or transit Pluto conjunct the midheaven. That feels okay, because I think of the midheaven as the highest and most idealized version of oneself, who they wanted to be when they grew up, you know. With Pluto, transit Pluto or solar arc Pluto conjunct that version of yourself is probably going to change, I would think. You know, perhaps the version of yourself in that way that you've had just isn't fucking working anymore, and it needs to be transformed to something else. So the transformation isn't a bad thing, it just is. Career also. Career could be in a state of change, in a state of transformation. Your reputation, your public presence, all of those things could be transforming too. For sure. With solar arcs, I know I've mentioned this in another video, but I'll say it again. Solar arc planets. I would use, some astrologers only want you to use a degree applying or separating with the planet, with the natal planet. I would go out to 2, because you know you start feeling the winds of this shit earlier. If you go back and look at your own solar arcs, you'll notice that there's a buildup, right? So I would look 2 degrees. I wouldn't go further than 2. This is just my opinion. I wouldn't go further than 2, but I would certainly go to 2 and just see what, you know, I would go that far out, applying and separating. Now with transits, and I know some people disagree with this too, this is what I do. I use an orb of 5 degrees, applying and separating for transit. So for transit Pluto, doing something in the natal chart, I would use 5 degrees applying to the planet and 5 degrees separating from the planet. But anytime you're dealing with Pluto, a Pluto transit, Pluto solar arc, whatever, there is going to be transformation going on. And usually the more you try to fight this, the harder it is. Usually that does tend to be the case with Pluto. The harder you fight against transforming, the more resistant you are to it. For whatever reason, you might have very valid reasons for wanting to resist, but usually the more you resist that flow, the more difficult things are. So do keep that in mind. I know I've got that in my mind right now. Trying to remember that myself. Not always the easiest thing though. So for all of you with Pluto transits to the angles, or solar arc transits to the angles, Pluto solar arc transits to the angles, I'm with you. I am with you. Okay, well, I hope this helps. If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can find us at Let's Fuck With Astrology. I am at Saturn Season Astrology on Instagram. Natalie is at Paternal Astrology on Instagram. If you want to like or subscribe or whatever the fuck people do with videos on YouTube, you can find us by searching for Let's Fuck With Astrology in the YouTube search bar. If you're already watching this on YouTube, you can like and subscribe down below. If you do the Reddit thing, come join us on the subreddit Let's Fuck With Astrology. And if you're interested in the star cards, go to letsfuckwithastrology.com/star-cards. Okay, y'all. I'll see y'all later.